everybody, and welcome to the SCEA's Movement Podcast. I'm Todd Scholl, and with me, as always, is Albert Jones, and we have a very special guest today. But before we get to our guest, Albert, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I just got back from seeing Anita Baker in concert, so I'm feeling very empowered from that. She still has her voice in all the class, and she's a great performer. So I'm doing real good. How about you?
I'm doing well. That sounds like a great show. She's probably one of those artists that you think you might only know one or two songs, and then she starts singing and you know every single song, like one after another. Just an amazing talent.
And one of the things when I was growing up, that was like the music we listened to like on a Saturday morning to clean the house. And like it was like that piece of my life to where listening to the music brought back some memories of my mom and some who have already transitioned and gone on. So it was a really, really great experience.
Awesome. That sounds great, Albert. I've been busy just with housework stuff, man, just like boring maintenance kind of stuff. So I don't have any interesting stories like that to tell, unfortunately.
Being an adult.
Yes, exactly. Adulting. Well, I want to go ahead and introduce our guest so you can, if you're watching the video version of this, you can see him. Deion Jamison. He was just recently named South Carolina Teacher of the Year for 2023. And we were so excited for him and wanted to bring him on to talk with us. He is a 9th and 10th grade English language arts teacher at Legacy Early College in Greenville, South Carolina. He was the district teacher of the year, obviously, for the South Carolina Public Charter School District. He earned an undergraduate degree in sociology from Clemson University. And Albert and I are both Gamecocks, so we will forgive you and let you come in and be part of this world. But he did that in 2017. He got a Master of Science in Education from Johns Hopkins University in 2021. And I could go on. He has so many accolades, but I want to get to you, Deion. First of all, congratulations on behalf of everybody at the SCEA. Congratulations on that amazing honor when you think there's 50,000 plus teachers in South Carolina, and you are named the Teacher of the Year for the entire state. Congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Let's start off there. Like, how does it feel? How did it feel that night to be named Teacher of the Year, and how have you been feeling ever since that announcement was made?
Yeah, extremely overwhelming. I still don't remember like everything that happened that night. I just remember things in pieces, mainly everything before the announcement. But after that, I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just here. But it's been a really incredibly experience. I've always considered myself to be a teacher leader. I think that this is just like the affirmation that that I am one, right? And just going through this process with the other finalists and the honor roll teachers now is what we call them. And the other district teachers of the year, it was just a really cool experience. And I'm just excited to continue the work that we've started as a forum this year into the next year. So really excited about that. Still a little overwhelmed, but it's starting to settle in.
Yeah.
So during your time, you talked about like that this was almost an affirmation for you as being a teacher leader. So what does it mean to you to be a teacher leader? What does that look like? And kind of what are some of those qualities?
Mm-hmm. So for me, the biggest thing when I think about teacher leadership is creating space for other teachers to thrive. You typically don't see that side from teachers. That's like an admin job, right? But I believe in the power of peer-to-peer interaction. And I think that teachers have the greatest impact on their colleagues. So for me, it's all about creating space for others to thrive. And I think like being named the Teacher of the Year for 2023 will allow me or give me the platform to shine light on like all of the amazing things that other teachers across the state are doing. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and you, in your bio, it says you were interested in teaching as a child, but what solidified that decision was your recognition of the disparities in education in South Carolina between districts. And anybody who's worked at sort of the state level, who's traveled around the state, can see these things firsthand. Can you talk a little bit about that, what you saw and how that motivated you to go into the profession?
Yeah, so this is a journey, right? So I knew that I wanted to be a teacher as early as the 4th grade. My 4th grade teacher, she bought me this chalkboard and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And plus it was like the only profession that I really saw in my community besides like a firefighter. And that was just something that I didn't want to do. Going into my senior year of high school, I believe, I started to hear about like the negativity within the profession, and I changed my mind. I was like, I'm not going to be a teacher. So I went to school and declared a major in computer science, which is like totally different from what I'm currently doing, right? And we were having a conversation in our dorm at Clemson, and we were talking about ACT scores for whatever reason. And I remember coming from my high school, like I had one of the highest scores at my school, which was an average score of 21. And I'm hearing that people are making 30s. And I'm like, I didn't even know that that was possible. So in that moment, I recognized that there may have been something that I didn't get in high school opposed to what other students across the state have been getting. It was even, I think, more recognizable on seeing the disparities as I traveled from my hometown, Orangeburg County, so Vance, South Carolina, very small town. As I traveled from Vance to Clemson on move-in day, and I just saw like the differences in like the facilities and what they looked like. And for me, that's when I started to understand that there's a difference between schools in my community in which I grew up opposed to schools along I-26, for example. In going to college and studying sociology, I learned more about like the disparities that exist in race and class and all these other things. And ultimately it affects one's educational outcome. So when I was able to recognize that, I knew that I wanted to be a part of the solution. I know that being a teacher is not the end-all be-all solution, but I do know that that's one of the ways that I could contribute to eliminating that inequity. So that was my decision to go into education.
I love that connection you make, as education almost as something that can disrupt some of the inequities. And I think that that's a huge one. I'm gonna get a little touchy-feely with you because it's the part that kind of really moved me. And I was at the Teacher of the Year Gala and I heard you talk about your grandmother. Can you share a little bit about knowing that I recently lost my great grandmother about a year or so ago? So that impacted my entire life. So I would love to hear a little bit more about your grandmother, her story, and just how she has impacted and imparted on you.
Yeah. So my grandma was my first teacher, and she didn't teach me like the academic stuff, right? But she taught me the value of hard work, perseverance, all of those wonderful qualities that we all aspire to have. And she was also the one who raised me. So my parents did have me at a young age, and my grandmother was there to support her daughter and her son-in-law now. Just being in that household with my grandmother and seeing how strong she was and how she was able to overcome all of these different challenges. My grandmother, her education only extended as far as a high school diploma. And she was very passionate about education. She used to substitute, and she was in the math club in high school, and she did all these different things within the educational sphere, and she always imparted on me the importance of getting an education and going beyond what she was able to accomplish. So I think all of those things that she taught me and just me observing the way that she lived her life is a part of my story and what it means to me to be a teacher that goes beyond like the academic content, right? Just making sure that I'm teaching my students those important life skills that they need to make genuine connection with one another. So.
Yeah, I know that you are making her proud. I know she's embedded in you the way my parents are embedded in me. And as you move forward into this year and you consider, you're going to have to go around and make speech after speech and presentation after presentation to a variety of different groups. How does her influence inform the message that you are kind of cultivating now as you think about what it is your platform is going to be? Can you talk a little bit about your platform, maybe how her influence is going to be seen through that?
Yeah. So first, thank you for saying cultivating the message, because it's something that's still coming together. You think that you have an idea of what it is that you want to talk about throughout the application process, and it totally shifts when like you get the award, right? But I know that a few of the things that I definitely want to touch on are education related, but they're just really, I think, common sense things that can really help to move us forward. In my application process, I talked a lot about the importance of recognizing the humanity in one another. And that's definitely something that I want to push as I move forward with this platform. Additionally, I just want to talk about like interconnectedness and being altruistic and just working together to make sure that we can do what's best for kids. I think that we get so lost in trying to serve the interests of adults, and we're missing the mark, right? We're not doing what's best for kids at all times. So I think that the way that my grandmother's life and the things that she's taught me will be, I guess, conveyed in my platform is just recognizing how wonderful of a person that she was and what she tried to instill in me in terms of those values, and just making sure that I'm incorporating those into this message of like togetherness and interconnectedness and humanity and all those good things.
So one of the things that I'm noticing and that I'm interacting with a lot of different people in a lot of different spaces, I'm seeing this resurgence, and I'm loving it, from the Call Me Mr. program to just seeing people who, the teaching fellows and everything in between. I'm seeing this strong presence of Black men in the teaching profession, from you to Volante Gibson to Kurt Russell, I believe is the National Teacher of the Year. You're seeing this strong, really impactful moment in education where you're seeing males and you're seeing minority folks and BIPOC folks in the classroom or in the education space, maybe not even in the traditional sense. How important is that? As someone who came from the classroom, taught fourth grade, and understand, how important is that for us to see that across our schools in this state of South Carolina?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, shout out to my boy Valente. Just like a quick story, we started working together through NCTE. We were both awarded the Early Career Educator of Color Leadership Award. And then we started to co-edit like this column of this journal, and then we became D-Toys together. So it was just like this really phenomenal like ride that we've had together. And that was really important for me to see, him being a Black male, me being a Black male, right? And just like, I guess like riding this wave of teacher leadership. But to answer your question, it's extremely important for everyone to see teachers of color in the classroom and in the educational sphere as a whole. One of the things that I think about when I think about Black men in education more particularly is that they are viewed as like these disciplinarians, and they don't get the chance to convey the genius that they bring with them into the classroom. Naturally, they can form these really great relationships with students that look like them and share their identities. And because of that, they're looked at as like the disciplinarians of the school. And for me, it's really important for me to have this position in this platform as the first Black male to be awarded this, to show that Black men are more than just disciplinarians, right? We have content knowledge. We can create and write curricula. We can do all of these amazing things that education requires us to do, and we can do it well. And that's really one of the things that I really want to sell and impress upon people as I travel the state with this platform, and just to continue to inspire more Black men, Black women, BIPOC folks, everyone, teachers of color to join the profession and to bring that experience and bring that genius with them into the classrooms, because our kids need it regardless of their identity.
Absolutely. Deion, you know, I mean, I'm sure you're aware that you'll be essentially the ambassador for public education in South Carolina over the next year, doing that 1-year residency with Sarah. One of the things that I've struggled with, and I don't know if I'm sure Albert feels similarly, is you've got all these issues in the profession that are negative. You know, the need for higher wages, the need for better working conditions, some of the disrespect that we're seeing, and there's a lot of negativity around education. How do you also? It's like threading this needle of saying, listen, teaching's an amazing profession. I love it. And I want to be positive about it. And I want to build it up and encourage young people to go into the profession. but also honor the honest sort of struggles that educators are dealing with now. As an ambassador, how do you plan on sort of threading that needle of being real with people about what's happening in the profession, but also being a positive voice too?
That's a really good question, and a question that I'm still trying to answer myself. But I do think that it goes back to a part of the message that I want to carry throughout the year, like this message of interconnectedness. So like all the negativity that you were like listing, right? That is a true factor in education, not only in South Carolina, but across the nation. I remember going into the classroom in my first 2 years, and I was miserable because I was trying to tackle all of these problems by myself. And I think that once I found my people, right, once I found this group of educators that I could connect with, that's the thing that helped to move me forward. So that is just really important to me in terms of, making sure that I'm interconnected with other individuals that are teachers, that are professors, that are about the work that we do in education, to make sure that we're making a positive impact. And that is the thing that has sustained me this far in the profession. I think that's also the thing that has, I guess, like catapulted me to this particular point. Just understanding that there is a lot of negativity, as you mentioned, within the profession, but having that group in which I could rely on is one of the ways that I was able to navigate the negativity and be able to have the platform to even like shed light to it and have discussions with people who could possibly make an impact in order to change that. So for me, it's all about like the interconnectedness piece.
I love that. And we talk about that a lot here at the SCEA from a collective standpoint. We talk about what can we do as a collective in order to make our students' lives better, but we're not ignorant to the fact that our lives have to be better as well. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I kind of connect with that is, what role does mental health play in all of this? Mm. What role does just your mental well-being, your wellness, and all of those things? And we can talk about pedagogy, we can talk about teaching and learning, that's great, but I kind of want to hear from you, like, where's mental health in this journey for you as an educator, and kind of what you would amplify as some things that educators who are listening to this podcast or viewing this video can kind of take away from, because you've had a journey and I'm sure that everything has not been perfect. Mm-hmm. And so kind of where did your mental health and what did you do to really have increase that wellness as well?
Yeah, for sure. So mental health, I will start out by saying that it was not my top priority going into the classroom, which I think this is really common, unfortunately, for teachers within their first couple of years. They want to make sure that they're doing right by kids. So they take on all of these burdens. I'll just go ahead and just be straight up with what it is. All of these burdens, and they get exhausted and burnt out and they leave the profession. But for me, one of the things that I had to realize, I just needed to be cognizant of what it was that I was doing, what was making me stressed, and trying my best to remove that. And there are just some things that you can't remove, right? So very simple for me, it's been making sure that I have a hard stop at a certain time in terms of work, not taking work home anymore, but making sure that I'm prioritizing those things that I need to accomplish while I'm at school and getting those things done. And there's a lot of extraneous things that teachers have to do while they're working. But for me, it's just been prioritizing and asking myself what is going to have the greatest impact on kids, because at the end of the day, I'm here to impact kids. I'm here to teach kids. That's my job. I'm not necessarily here to appease a system. So just prioritizing that, and I'm okay with that, right? So I really can't speak for others in terms of mental health, but for me, it's just been about prioritizing what's most important for me to accomplish so that my kids are ensuring that they are getting what they need and that they're well. Yeah.
I want to shift gears just for a minute. We've talked a lot about ed policy and that kind of thing, and I'm sure you're going to be asked that a bunch over the next year. I want to try to ask you something maybe that other people won't ask you. Mm-hmm. what as an English teacher, what are some of your favorite books personally that you've read? And then what are some of your favorite books that you teach, when you're with young people? What are your favorite books to sort of assign them?
This is a really hard question. So my favorite books, I'm instantly thinking of The Color Purple. And what's crazy is I didn't read that book until I got to got to college. It should have been something that I read in high school, but unfortunately I didn't. So my favorite books that I've ever read was The Color Purple. My favorite books to teach. So I teach English 1, and the classic that we read in 9th grade is Romeo and Juliet. It's really crazy that I'm even saying this because I didn't enjoy the book as a kid, but I found ways to connect it with the students. And I just thought like the first time teaching it, like they will be like, this is whack, like we don't want to read this, but they end up loving it. And we do so many creative things with it. Like my kids, they just finished recording a podcast, just trying to figure out like who's responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet. Other texts that I teach, because I teach a semester course, so we're not able to get through full books of course. I teach this really cool advocacy unit, right? And we start off by reading the Declaration of Independence as like this form of advocacy. And then we connect that to other texts such as Letter from Birmingham Jail by Dr. King, John Lewis's Final Words that were just published, the Declaration of Sentiments. So just ensuring that like I'm giving my kids a wide variety of things to read that have this real impact on their lives. I always say that I want to make sure that I'm giving my kids the education that can go beyond the four borders of the classroom. So just making sure that they can do something with the stuff that we're reading and not just pass a test.
Yeah.
I love that. When you started talking about The Color Purple, I got excited with the new film coming out.
Right.
I'm excited to see how that manifests itself. What kind of student were you, Deion? Were you the student who you would have pegged to be a teacher, or were you kind of the student who was kind of like a rebel? What kind of student were you going through school?
Oh, this is a predictable one about myself. I was a nerd. I did very well in class. I was super obedient. I was in every organization that there was, student body president, everything except sports. I did because there's no athletic prowess here, but I was a nerd. So,
as you think about your future, Deion, I mean, and this is probably a hard question, but I mean, what do you envision for yourself? I mean, as you go through this year, there's going to be so many opportunities that are presented to you. Some folks go right back into the classroom. Some have gone on to work at SCEA or at the State Department, or what is it that as you consider your life beyond this year, what are you envisioning for yourself in your career?
That is a really good question. I don't know. I do know that whatever I do after this year will be me making sure that I'm making an impact on education. One of the things I'm passionate about is eliminating educational inequity. So I definitely want to make sure that I'm still in a space in which I can contribute to eliminating that inequity. I do know that I want to continue my studies and earn a PhD. I'm not sure in what area that is or where I want to get it from at this moment, but it is something that I have my eyes set forth on. But what the actual position will be, who knows?
Love that. Well, Deion, we want to thank you so much for your time. We appreciate the opportunity to have some conversation with you. I'm sure you are a super, super, super busy man, as we know based on this role. And so we appreciate you. For those who are listening in, who want to tap into what we are doing, to want to have more information about the SCEA, go ahead and jump on our website and go to thescea.org or join thescea.org. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, you name it, we're on it. So definitely check out this podcast as well, the SCEA movement. We appreciate you, Deion. Any final words or any things of that nature that you want to kind of take a moment on a hot mic and spread it to the world?
Final words are always like the hardest remarks to give.
I know.
I honestly don't have anything. I feel like we covered like a lot of ground here today, but just reiterating the fact that I'm extremely grateful for this platform that I've been given. And I'm looking forward to working with educators across the state and serving them.
Perfect. Proud, anything for you?
No, Deion, it's always great just listening to you and learning from you. We're looking forward to staying connected throughout your year. And if there's anything we can do to support you at the SCEA, please don't hesitate to reach out to Albert, to me, to anybody on staff. We'd love to connect with you throughout the year and support your journey. And we wish you the best as you do that.
Thank you.